Hello YouTube, RJ. Well, in this video, I'm going to build a kit from kitparts.com. I order a lot of toroids and different stuff from them, and they had this kit. It was very reasonably priced. I think it was $15 if I remember correctly. But it's a hybrid Cascode IF amp module with AGC, and I thought it'd be a neat kit to build and test. So this video is going to be building it, and I'm sure this is not going to be a short build, as 5-10 minutes. It's going to take a while, so I'll do my very best to show you the highlights of maybe putting a certain thing on, and then maybe there's 3 more, so we'll just skip those 3. I'll kind of edit this to try to shorten the time as much as possible. I'm sure it's not going to be a short video, but hopefully you'll find it interesting. It'll give you an opportunity to see how I go about putting these things together. This may work out to be a great IF amp. Maybe we might decide to use this on our ham radio. Maybe we base an amp off of it. We'll see. But let's build this thing. I was curious to see what a $15 kit, how good an amp could it be? And so let's get into it. First of all, the instructions are up on their webpage. You can see here, and it gives you the specs. They say it's 50 ohm input and output, about 80 dB gain, which is quite a bit of gain. AGC on and off, AGC out, so you can hook up an S meter to it. That's very handy. A mute, both positive and negative, so you can mute for either direction, either polarity. And it's 2 inches by 2.5 inches, so it's not a very large board. Let's roll down and see what we have. Here's our schematic, and here's our IF in 50 ohm. We can see it runs off at 12 volts. Here's a 3906. That's on the mute. This is going to give this is complementary pairs. That way you can trigger the mute from a positive with 3904 or from a negative mute for the 3906. That's why they're using 2 different transistors to give you that option. This is our AGC output for your S meter coming off of here. So it looks like an interesting circuit anyway. Let's get into building this thing. Here's the diagram of the circuit board. It looks like you can source your own boards if you want to. Looks like they're wanting you to install the unmarked SMD capacitors. It said next. So what we're installing, do not. Some helpful. Try to limit handling of them. They tend to disappear. If you're using a hot air gun, you may wish to organize parts installation in sections. Install the unmarked capacitors next. Looks like we have a whole bunch of capacitors to put in. So let's open up and see what we see. Lots of little parts. It's not separated into individual components, so it's going to take a little investigative work on our end to make sure we've got the right parts for each. And wow, we've got a lot of little surface mount parts that we have to organize. These toroids and everything stood up where they won't roll off the bench. Nothing worse than that. Now that one was separate. I don't know why it was separate, so I'm going to put him over here. I'm assuming there's some reason. Let's bring our board over here. And let's just start with the first part. C3. Solder down here. Okay. So there's C3. We got C4 right here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just go in, and each one of the capacitors we're going to be doing, I'm just going to put a little solder down on one side. That's my normal. So C3, C4, where's C1? C5 and 6 are candidates, so let's rotate them around here. And it would help if I had kicked my camera on where you guys could see what I'm doing. Let me get that started. Sorry about that. So anyway, as I said, what I'm doing here, I'm going to go to each one of these capacitors in this part of the instruction, and just a little bit of solder, a little much there. We'll manage that later. So we've got C4, C3, C4, C5, C. That was R5. I already screwed up. Okay. C5, C1 right there. And we're looking for more of our capacitors, what we're supposed to be doing. 13 is not one of them. C6 is one of them. C6 and C7 are one of them, so let's get C6. So I think that's all of them. We've got to find these. We got to find these capacitors. Now we're looking for a 10 nanofarad. I'm trying out today. I'm going to try something new I've never used before. I bought these ceramic tweezers, and they're the ones that you spread apart and they close on their own. Get them under here around. They're not going to show up in there very well, but under the camera here they will. But I'm going to give these a try today. I've never used them. One of the nice things about them is they're supposed to they're supposed to pick it up and not stick. That's their big thing. Ceramic, you know, they take the heat, but they're not supposed to stick. So no rush in the build of something like this. It takes time. So we're now pulling all the capacitors out. Question is, are all these? That's different. I'm going to say that's not one of them. I'm going to say probably when they're saying the flat, what they mean is these thin capacitors is what they're getting at. They're describing this thinner capacitors. Is that all the capacitor? No, there's one. And that looks to be the last one here. So my question is, these look to be different. So let's see, what do we have for parts? We have two capacitors that are the square bodies. Okay, quantity 2. Okay, so those are those two, these two right here. And then if I'm right, put those there off the board. If I'm right, how many we got here? 1, 2. There's 11 of them. Did I miscount one? Let's do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I've got 12 capacitors here. I'm going to see, yeah, here's the parts list. That's only capacitors. Okay, so they say 11 plus 1, but there's only 11 of those, so they give you an extra, I'm guessing, in case one gets lost. So that was nice of them. It just befuddled me just a little bit. We'll put that out of our way. So these are the capacitors we need to be putting on. So let's get some capacitors put on. So I'm going to go over here, and here is, let's go find C1 right there. And let's see about getting C1 on. And what we're out to do, as I've talked about before, these pliers are new, these tweezers are new to me. So please forgive me if it takes me a little getting used to them. I am not used to using them. I just wanted to give them a shot on this kit because I am not used to them. And I wanted to see how they did. So we get our capacitor lined up properly. I'm going to put a little heat here. We're just going to get her stuck down. That should leave her there. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to go around and do the same thing on all of them. And once we get them all that way, we're going to go back and we're going to solder the other end of that capacitor. And that other end that we soldered, because we're, here's C3, let's get him down. That other end that we solder, because there was no flux when we put this down, I'm leery of the solder joints here. So what's going to happen is we're going to come back, once we get all these in place, we're going to go back and solder each one of them here with fresh solder, which will have some flux in it, work great. And then we'll flip around, we'll just touch these up with just a drop of solder that'll get us a little flux in there and make sure we've got a good connection. So there's C4. Let's get him on. And so I'll continue on with this, but I won't make you watch each and every one. Nobody wants to watch a video that long of people soldering, soldering capacitors on a board. Well, no, some people might, I guess, but I'll skip ahead and get these tacked down this way. Okay, we've got those capacitors installed. So now we have the two C12 and C13 to put on. So let's find those locations and get us set up for those. Now, a couple comments I can make right now is that I've not done a review of this microscope, and I probably should, because it's one of those AliExpress things I purchased that actually has worked out quite well for me, and I've been very happy with. If you're going to do a lot of soldering of surface mount stuff, it's probably good money spent, because while I can do this without it, it is so much better. It lets me verify my work so much better. So I would recommend, if you're going to be doing a lot of surface mount soldering, working on small stuff, this is something I definitely recommend. It will aid you in working on it. You can see what you're doing so much better. Okay, so we've got our C12 and our C13 put on. Now, wants us to put the trimmer in, C2. Observe polarity marking on the board. Okay, so C2. Let's find C2. See what they're talking about. There's C2 right there. And there's the polarity marking. Now, we need to figure out the polarity markings on this rascal. I'll be honest, I can't remember whether the flat side is which side, so let's take a quick gander at the built unit. Okay, flat side goes towards the toroid. Okay, so there we go. Wasn't that hard to figure out? Flat side towards the toroid. So we're going to put her in this way. Okay, that part's done. So we've got a trimmer on there. Now, the next thing they want is our diodes. And so let's see if we can find our diodes over here. Looking on the screen here. Here's D1. Okay, so it's a sock package. And D2. Okay, So it's going to be one of these rascals that I was expecting to all be just the transistors, but okay, there's our KJE 50. Okay, so there is our BAT 99 right here. So that is, we're going to set him over here. That is our D1. We found our D1. Now we're looking for 8GM, which is right here. Right? It's this guy right here, 8GM right there. So that's D2. Okay, so we found our, so let's get set up and put these diodes on. Let's see, I forgot where they were on the board. Let me find them. D1's right there, and D2's right there. I handled this just a little different. What I like to do is take and put a little flux down with these components. I say little, probably, you probably won't consider it little. And that's going to set me up with a tacky surface to put these down on. And so let's see if we can do this. And I'll show you why in just a moment. Here's this D1. We're going to set him in place. Right where he needs to be. Okay, now we're going to take D2. We're going to do the same thing. And there's a lot of ways you could handle this. You could, put down solder paste and use hot air, which I'm equipped. I have that. I could do that. That's absolutely possible. We could do that. But another way we could do it, because not everybody has hot air and solder paste and wants to deal with that, is what we could do is take and get them in place with a little flux so that they're a little bit sticky and they try to kind of stay there. And then what we do is we just come in here with our soldering iron and we put a little solder on the tip of our iron. Now normally that's going to cook the flux off, it's not going to work, but we've already got flux down. So if I just come in and just do this very close and see it run on, created quite a bulb there, a little bit more solder than I really want, but I can clean that up a little. Okay, that pin's done. Let me come back over here and see if I can try to pick up a little. Clean my iron out, go back and try to pick a little more up. This is This is going to help also with overheating the part, because what's going to happen is let's put just a little bit of solder on here on this tip, not too much. What happens is that flux helps spread the heat out, and so what happens is it helps with trying to overheat. So let's leave him on a minute, and I really should have my fan going. I don't have it going, which is, I know better, but I'd have to do this as a voiceover if I was running the fan. I wouldn't want to have to make you listen to the fan, so I'm not. So I'm taking one for the team here. We're all right. We're on there good enough. Not perfect, not horrible though. Okay, I gotta get him in there. Tiny bit of solder on there. I'll put him down here. There you go. And with that, we're going to go ahead and finish up part one of the build. As the video is getting long, I'm going to break it into two sections. We'll pick up in the next episode, and hopefully you'll come and finish watching the build, and then I'll follow up probably with a third video that does analysis of the circuit. We'll hook it up and see how it performs. So thanks for being with me today. I hope you enjoyed the content. I hope you'll subscribe so you can get more of it. Have a great day. We'll see you in the next video.